Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel State. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
They're never going to believe us when we tell them that we don't talk about what color we're wearing. That's so funny.
Never. We look like we match. We
I don't know how that happens.
Channel it.
It's kind of true. I think that is that's paradox that we're totally different, but we show up all the time in the same colors.
You know, we've almost been doing this a year. It'll be a year in 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember when we said, we'll just get through 10 episodes? And here we are.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for pressuring the hell out of us and peer pressuring us to do this show for a full year. Remember, we were going to stop, decided we were going to stop, announced it, and you guys aren't going to let us go.
Well, I have to say, it's a big transition from TikTok to doing a podcast. I have to say the haters are different, totally different group of haters. But you know what? I would not want to do anything else. I wanted to do exactly what we're doing, educate North Carolinians about what is going on in North Carolina. And I think we're doing that, and we're making a difference. And we know that because people are actually sending us messages and critiquing us on our social media about what we're going to talk about.
William, someone's getting the memo. We're just not sending it to each other for these shows.
I wish I got the memo. I got Delta Zeta colors on today. You just got to get over it.
Well, I got to tell you, usually, by the way, you guys don't know this, but behind the scenes, like getting here, there's so much going on for two women like us to be at one place the same time twice a week is just.
Let's just talk about that for a second. Sloan has children and a husband and a life outside of, doing this podcast. She has to manage her household and her family. I have a full-time job, and we try to bring it together. And I have to really give you credit, Sloan. You do all the artwork, which is what I'll call it, and all the, slides. And that is not easy work, especially when you're juggling a family and all the priorities that you have. And I really do appreciate it. And let's not forget the fact that you freelance journalism and do journalism for a career.
Yeah, I know. Listen, how do we do it?
You know what? I don't think I'd know how to do it any other way. I was a single mom. I mean, if you can raise a kid by yourself and have a corporate career, that as a woman, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And ailing parents. I did all the ailing parents things too.
Yeah. Everyone has busy lives, which is why we're here. Breaking things down, breaking these big ass subjects down to bite-sized pieces. So we're going to start off today with trans Republican, because it's actually the biggest story, one of the biggest stories in the nation. Let me put up Tom Tillis and his ass. Tom with a 8.
He's going to drive me to drink real alcohol.
Most of my concerns related to January 6th.
Hear it?
Barely.
And he built a compelling case on some of the 15-12 prosecutions that were probably heat of the moment bad decisions, but where we probably have a difference is I think anybody that breached the perimeter should have been in prison for some period of time. Whether it's 30 days or 3 years is debatable.
Okay. He can't, absolutely. Look, he cannot let go. He will not let go of January 6th.
Well, here's my thing about him. Hey, Jim Womack, good to see you.
Womack, love you.
The thing I cannot stand about him is this is a man who voted for Merrick Garland, who voted for, all of the radical Democrats on Biden's staff. And yet he says, further on in that interview, he says, had Ed Martin been selected for any other jurisdiction other than D.C., I would be okay with it. Really?
That's where he's needed the most. So you guys out there, if you're wondering who keeps who keeps handing ammo to the left, to the anti-Trump left in particular. Check Tom Tillis's fingertips. I mean, as you watch him here try to block Ed Martin, who's already in the position, already doing a great job, he knows full well that he's handing power to the most anti-Trump judge, I think it's Boasberg. To appoint the next DC U.S. attorney. Now, remember this. Remember when Tom worked behind the scenes to try to sandbag Pete Hegseth's nomination?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's not just working against Ed Martin. He's working against you. He's working against me. He's working against the American people.
Well, I just want to say to all of you out there that don't live in North Carolina, welcome to our world. We've lived with this crazy individual who thinks that he is the king of North Carolina and truly does act like it for a long time. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say two things. First of all, I think 100% he was behind what happened to Mark Robinson, 100%. Two, most J6ers that went to prison or had some type of sentence had no due process, zero due process. But you want to punish people further. And the last thing I'll say is if you live in a district that was thoughtful enough to do a censure of Tom Tillis.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember.
And 11, please make sure you go to your county and censure him from the county level too, because he is not acting like a Republican. He's acting like a trans Republican.
I just don't know really if he's going to run. I mean, how can you be this demonstrably against your party, kneecapping Trump deliberately and willfully and actually run? I'm starting to wonder at this point. What do you think?
Oh, I think he's arrogant enough to run. I absolutely do. Do I think there will be a challenger that comes out that is unexpected? Absolutely. I'm hearing that McHenry, who thought he was going to get a board seat at Bank of America and did not after leaving his congressional seat, is seriously considering a contention against Tom Tillis.
Would be better than Tom Tillis.
I don't know about that. Anything's better than Tom Tillis at this point.
Little fella, let's see him run. Okay, so someone got a hold of the show that we had on May 5th and a tweet that I put out May 5th, or excuse me, March 5th. It is May 5th. About the Ukraine. Yeah, about the Ukraine thing, and they got really super pissed off. So I'm going to play it again for you guys.
Has to be, at the very least, a push and a loss for Vladimir Putin. This cannot be a scenario where Putin wins, period.
Would you like to see a resumption of aid?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I support the supplemental. I'll support continued funding. I want to make it clear to Putin he can't win. So I'm looking forward to a good discussion.
He'll do anything. Meanwhile, and I think that was at a point in time where, we hadn't gotten all the funding we needed in Western North Carolina. Or, by the way, remember, before I forget, he also basically continuously called us liars here for correctly stating that FEMA was not on the ground, in the
misinformation was
called us misinformation artisans. It was ridiculous and insulting his own people.
Yeah. And have you noticed that he's not been back? He doesn't come up here regularly. He only comes when Trump's around or there's a photo op. And frankly, he's never been where I live. So he's, never been from one end of the state to the other. I will not be ashamed to vote for anybody but him. Jim Womack just put up that Lee County has an official censure. So does District 13. So does District 11, which Jim Womack happened to chair. So if you're in one of those districts, please make sure your county goes ahead and to exercises their censure capability.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, Jim, that he's polling to explore his political options. Save your money, Tom, with an H.
No, he's saying Watley.
True. Oh, Watley is. Okay. Well, I know Tom Tillis was a little while back. And in fact, he hired a brand new campaign manager. And I think he had a fundraiser, at least one big fundraiser.
Oh, yeah. He had a bunch. He had a fundraiser.
So in other words, he's walking the walk, you guys. He's doing the things that one would do to explore and set up for the next run. I don't know what, except for he's shooting himself in the foot. It seems like every other week.
Well, listen, Tom Tillis doesn't care what you and I think. And the world or I would say the United States, especially on social media, are starting to realize what an arrogant jackass he is. I'll just say it. And I'm not ashamed to say it, Tom. But we've been living with this for years. So it's kind of ironic that we've been screaming what a terrible person he was. And by the way, if you're not from North Carolina, or even if you are, and you don't know that the protege of Tom Tillis is Michael Watley. Well, I thought I'd tell you that. As a matter of fact, Jim Womack, who's watching our show, was actually told by Michael Watley that Tom Tillis didn't want Jim Womack to run for NCGOP chair because Watley is Tom Tillis's boy. So let's just get that all out there, and everybody knows it now.
Well,
so one you get the other.
I was working with Jim a few weeks ago, and we had a presentation, and he read a letter aloud that was just effusive praise for CARE, which is a terrorist organization operating, by the way, inside of the borders of the United States. And he read this effusively praised letter and went on to identify the author of that letter was Tom Tillis. So that would be a no for me. It should be a no for everyone. Yes. Piss me off.
Well, here we are. He loves the fact that we're giving money to Ukraine more than Western North Carolinians or anybody else. But I would really like to know, does he even know there's a war going on between Pakistan and India? Are we getting involved in that one? Are we going to send money there too? I just want to know, Tom, Tom with the T, how far are we going?
Tom with an H.
Oh,
Tom with an H. That's the real sign of a pompous jackass. Tom with an H.
Somebody called him Tillis. They don't call him Tom Tillis. They call him Tillis.
With $2 signs instead of an S. Yes. And I love that. It's so apropos.
We just got the trans Republican out of the way right off the bat, didn't we?
Trans Republican. Yeah. I mean, because it's this story that everyone's talking about. Before we come on, we look at the top 10 trending stories for, the U.S. politics and for North Carolina, and it had a crossover appeal. So, Tom, we had to start out by dragging you, and we'll continue to do so.
I hope he doesn't get it 3 weeks in a row. I mean, not that he doesn't deserve it, but I'm sure there's somebody else out there.
The thing is, I'm tired of talking. I think, for our own vanity reasons, or our own reasons, we're tired of talking about it. So, but a really good thing actually did happen today in D.C. Pam Bondi had a press conference a couple of hours ago, and she announced a very big arrest. Let me make sure I've got the right one. Let's see.
In cocaine.
Okay, nope, that's the wrong one.
Victory in our nation's fight against fentanyl and drug trafficking to date. This multi-agency operation led by DEA with our local, state, tribal, and federal partners targeted one of the largest and most dangerous drug trafficking and foreign terrorist organizations in our country. The DEA seized 11.5 kilos of fentanyl, including an astounding approximately 3 million fentanyl pills.
Okay, stop right there. She went on to say 3 million pills. Guess what they were put in?
What?
Xanax, hydrocodone of all different strengths. Those were the pills. One pill can kill. 3 million were going to be released into the de facto bloodstream of the United States.
And mostly young people.
Profound. And by the way, she went on to say of various different strengths. You could have one. Yeah. I mean, you could have one that would get you completely loaded, right? Or one that would give you a button.
They're all going to kill you if you take them. Doesn't matter.
No, it's Russian roulette. It's Russian roulette. But I did a cursory search for over the last 10 days, how many fentanyl arrests that we've had. This is going to blow your doors off. By the way, in North Carolina, we have 8 deaths a day from fentanyl. 8 deaths a day.
But what's Jeff Jackson doing? Oh, that's right. He's going after Trump.
He is going after Trump. But I have to tell you, in each and every one of these instances, the DEA and the sheriff department are cooperating with a lot of these. So I have to take my hats off. Now, I'm going to start with probably one of the worst first. If I can get it up here. Hang on. Okay.
Oh,
so did you? Okay. I think I showed you this. This is crazy. So Burke County Sheriff's Office said Dustin McCurry and Kayla Allen were arrested April 30th after deputies searched their vehicle, found a large amount of drugs. I mean, a large amount. Here's what pisses me off, and it should piss you off. Get this. Both of these people were out on pre-trial release at the time of this incident and had no money bail, no bond at all.
And here's what's interesting. People think that's the sheriff's fault. It is not. It's the judiciary's fault. It is the fact that we do not have good sentencing and bond guidelines. That is exactly where it lays. And the DAs do not push the limit. And something needs to happen in North Carolina when you don't have good sentencing guidelines for bonds.
Well, you actually do. I know from experience.
We don't hear.
Let me tell you who sets the bonds generally. It's the magistrate. So what happened in this case, I want to tell you this case is that there was no magistrate. There was no judicial review there. So they let them out without bond.
Wow.
Okay. So
there's not have a magistrate.
Pardon me?
How do you not have a magistrate? How do you not have a
I don't know.
That's
enough to kill 13,000 people. This is a damn red alert happening right here. So here you go. You're looking at 7 this is quite a motley crew of people who are arrested by undercover cops when they bought large amounts of illegal drugs from these guys in Lincoln County. According to the sheriff, narcotics officers purchased the fentanyl, meth, cocaine, and crack throughout Lincolnton. I mean, this is not a place where you expect drugs.
Was that a sting operation specifically?
Yes, because Yes, it was because undercover agents, just like what they did at the DOJ and the NCGA, they're doing this here, which again, we need to applaud this that is going on. But I have to tell you, we've been covering a lot of things, illegal crimes. These are not illegals by and large, right? These are homegrown. Okay. 3 arrested, law enforcement, 9 pounds of fentanyl. 9 pounds.
Wow.
This is insane. This is Pender County. So they arrested 3 people after law enforcement found several pounds of narcotics and firearms at a Rocky Point home. They were investigating another crime and they just happened to find that. It is unbelievable. I mean, again, this is enough to kill large amounts of people. Now, look at this fella.
Oh, from Phil Berger's county.
Well, that's right. So our buddy Sam Page was going to make sure that justice was coming and it wasn't social justice. Check out what this guy has. 2,126 grams of fentanyl opium mix, 15 grams of cocaine, 123 grams of methamphetamine, and then marijuana. The fentanyl alone could have killed over 1 million people. 1 million people.
Thank you, Sam Page. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I mean, what?
What is going on? What is going on in our state that much fentanyl, that much cocaine, that much meth?
This is in a week. Yeah, this is just in a week, you guys. So, I mean, we would probably have a lot more, sadly, but that's what's been going on in a week's time. So, sheriff races are coming up.
All 100 counties.
They're extremely important. The last time we had sheriff races, we won a lion's share of the races. I think we flipped 11 different counties. We've got to flip more because every one that I mentioned, sheriffs, Republican, these districts. I'm not sitting here and saying that the Democrats would let these people die from fentanyl overdoses, but I can tell you what, they sure as hell let a lot of them walk.
Yeah, and I think now's the time that we should just put out a notice. If you're going to run for sheriff and you're in any of the 100 counties and you want to let us know you're running, we're going to make sure we do a special podcast just to feature all 100. We'll do them quickly. You can give us a 1 minute. We'll put it up. We're going to help you win, but we're going to vet you first.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And when we vet people, we go deep. Just look online. Look at what the people on X say about the level to which we can investigate people. I mean, they're our best advertisers, aren't they? I mean,
absolutely.
They're like damn near accusing us of getting their DNA.
LinkedIn is free last I checked. And so are a lot of other sites.
Ridiculous. Anyway, that's just a little sidebar.
Yeah.
But during this press conference with Pam Bondi, I was very impressed at the level of detail she went in. It was a very long press conference, but here's what she had to say about these kingpins. And it might explain some of these lower level people, which I just showed you, it might explain the nature of the relationship between them. Listen. Whoops.
And when we catch
hang on. I'm still getting used to the software. Here we go.
you, like all of these individuals, if convicted, we will put you behind bars. There will be no negotiating, and we will lock you up for as long as humanly possible. We will not negotiate with those who are killing our family members, including brothers, sisters, daughters, sons, parents, friends. Everyone in this room, I guarantee you, knows someone who has been afflicted with drug addiction.
And we actually do. We have a representative who is in Greensboro, who the impetus for him running was because his brother overdosed.
That's right. The Addison McDowell out of Guilford County.
Yeah.
He absolutely ran for Congress on that very issue.
Right.
It was sent to Mexico and came right in our country. And again, 6 of these individuals were here illegally. That won't shock you. And we're running a massive, massive drug operation. This kind of success doesn't happen without extraordinary.
So what she goes on to say is that the way that it worked is that the kingpin or the guy in charge, he would live in one area and he would never have drugs on him in each case. But the distribution network was in, rural areas in Ohio and in Oregon and different places.
North Carolina.
Right. And then they would have this. So,
that's very, very similar to what
this bitch. Yeah.
Yeah. That's very similar to what Brad Knott told me when he was a federal prosecutor here in North Carolina. He said the same thing. He said, that they would find ways to transport with mothers in the car and 4 cars around them to kind of, keep the attention off the car with the woman in it. He was, and he'd be a good one to talk about this because he did a lot of that here in Eastern North Carolina.
Yeah, but I mean, they're risking everyone's lives but their own. And so a lot of you might say, okay, well, guys, this really, shoots your argument that all this stuff is being done and the drug trafficking is being done by illegal immigrants or illegal aliens. But look, the kingpins generally are, right? And they will get locals involved in doing that. And sadly, that it doesn't matter who's doing it. Whoever's doing it needs to be taken off the street. And by the way, if you're listening in Burke County, with bond, you have to do that. In what world?
Somebody needs to be holding that DA accountable.
Somebody needs to be holding the DA accountable. Absolutely. So check this out. This is a wild story. And this is by Charlotte. So there is a child that is 5 years old that is going to the school, and a teacher was caught taking the child to the bathroom and actually kissing the child, allegedly in an inappropriate way. It's obviously, been in national news, etc. But
how does that happen?
The problem is that no arrests were made. And then the school, in their infinite wisdom, put the teacher and the child back together in that arrangement, despite the objections of the parents.
How does that happen? First of all, how does that happen the first time, not get immediately pushed into a position where they're absolutely apart from each other? And then how does it happen that they're put back together?
Well, I mean, in my mind, the school doesn't give a shit.
Well, obviously,
the child was nonverbal, by the way. So it's a special needs child. Apparently, there is irrefutable evidence, and
I don't know what to think of what's going on in our school system, Sloan. Every week we seem to come up with, some perversion that takes place, some inappropriate behavior that takes place. And I don't know what we can do. People have suggested we put up a website just to show what's happening. But what's interesting to me is we can report the stuff, but when do you see it on the DPI website? Where do you see it there?
Well, you don't, because you get the bullshit that all teachers are great. Believe all teachers, all of everyone cannot possibly be great. And without admitting your shortcomings It's impossible to deal with this stuff. And it certainly doesn't put parents at ease. We're not willing to be the least bit transparent. So,
right. And somebody needs to start tracking this because it is an epidemic across the state.
mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, look, we are the de facto trackers. We're doing it all the time, right?
That's
We're
true.
doing it all the time, every week. Sadly, we have to do this. So what we have not talked about is another huge story.
Well,
Again, I mean, this is, round and round the mulberry bush with this, right? I mean, this is now, I guess, Allison Riggs. We've been talking about this. Unfortunately, we've had to talk about it. A federal judge just handed in the Democrat, Allison Riggs, this Supreme Court seat.
That's very misleading. That's a very misleading title, South Carolina Journal, because what the judge also said is, I will give Griffin a week to appeal.
So look, if you're just tuning into this, she had a razor thin win, and it was challenged after thousands of questionable, to say the least, ballots were counted, including from people who have never lived in North Carolina. But Judge Myers said, look, you don't change the rules after the game. I mean, I don't see how you can do that. But the irony is the rules were murky from the start, and they were not followed from the start. And Griffin wasn't asking to change them. He just wanted to follow them.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about this whole thing, because I mean, we're going to lead into probably the ratings that the North Carolina State Board of Elections have gotten. So consequently, Jefferson Griffin is actually a hero, because there were 4 candidates on the ballot that had less than 1,000 votes, who all made a contest together to the North Carolina State Board of Elections that this was an issue, that there were over, we were 60,000 or so ballots that didn't have a social security number on them or have a driver's license number. And the North Carolina Board of Elections said, shut up, we don't care. And the only reason why Jefferson Griffin went forward is because his race was not called. Ashley Adams, I believe her name is, Stacey McQuinn, and Frank Sussman. Now, let me tell you why that's important.
Granville, but by the way, both of those, Ashley and Sussman, were in Granville. So you're talking about 2 of the 4 in the same area. If there's
Granville, he's advanced. But
wait a minute. No, he's in Granville as well. That's part of his territory. Yeah.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, had Frank Sussman been able to contest those less than 1,000 votes, we would have a supermajority, and they do it correctly. We would have a supermajority in the House as well as the North Carolina Senate. So, and recently there was a scorecard put out about the North Carolina Board of Elections. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I'm dovetailing into this is because one of the areas in the scorecard, if you look at it, is that they got a D- in voter rolls, which is exactly what all 4 of those candidates had a problem with. Now they have to grade on a curve because they end up with a C-.
Hold on. Let me jump in. Who did this report? Tell me that.
It's a nonprofit called freeandfairelections.com, I think, something like that.
Okay. And then found this out. Okay. Got it. I can't believe that we didn't get a D. And look, this is one of the chief, getting all of this untangled is one of the chief reasons that our General Assembly leaders have put elections underneath an elected official who can actually be held accountable. And in this case, it's the state auditor, which is Dave Bolak, correct?
That is correct. They have their first agenda coming up here shortly. I'm going to look at this on my screen because it's really, really small. I want to make very clear what the 2 areas that got the lowest marks are. We got a D in administration and enforcement of elections. And we got a D in quality of our voter rolls.
So how could this go on simultaneously? And then this judge comes out and says, well, you have to settle this beforehand. How could we possibly have known about this before an election? Tell me.
Right. Well, that's the problem. And even this nonprofit states our voter rolls are a mess. So, I mean, I didn't realize, I knew those people had lost the race. I didn't realize they had gone together in a compact to basically to protest their elections, and that they were denied by the North Carolina State Board of Elections to do that. And the only reason why Jefferson Griffin was able to go further is because his race wasn't called. So there was 4 of them altogether that were tried to do that. What's interesting about the ratings is, you know what they gave the North Carolina Board of Elections for leadership? A B. Now, how do you get a B in leadership when you can't do the job of enforcing the election rules and keeping your voter rolls clean?
Right. I mean, all this happened on their watch, and yet they get a B.
Mm-hmm.
That's very gratuitous. But look, back to Jefferson Griffin, by highlighting these voter eligibility issues, he's already made a lasting impact on election integrity. So I want all of you to know that.
Oh, I think it's going to be one of the very first things Dave Bullock does. He's going to go in there and say, get these voter rolls cleaned up and don't turn anything in that doesn't have all the necessary information on it. And one of the issues that they noticed in these voter rolls or these voters is that there were, I think there were 2,500 or so, 25,000, I'm sorry, that were not North Carolinians out of the country.
Never been there. Never been
had no address on them. 0.
Yeah. I mean, and we talked about this last week. It disappointed the hell out of me to hear people on our own sides lament. Why is he doing this? Why is he, what in the hell has gotten into us? Either we have a spine and we're for the rule of law and what's right, or we don't.
I think there's a lot of spineless Republicans. I really do. I mean, it's not a hard call to say, hey, look, this is blank. We need to fill it out.
We follow the law for a reason. We follow a law for the reason. I just want to put this up right quick because we are bringing Representative Brian Echevarria in a few minutes to talk about what's been going on in the General Assembly. I think it's going to be, great to hear from him. I just want to put this up about parental consent because this is a bill that we have talked about quite a lot, and it is a very important bill for us to get passed. But we do have a little bit of opposition, and Margo, you're going to talk about him in a second. But I'm just going to replay this because I don't feel like I have to talk to you over again. Here's the law in North Carolina. A lot of people were surprised at it. For minors. Whoops. Okay, I keep doing this. Sorry, guys.
It's hard.
Minors can independently consent to any of the doctors I showed you tonight, treating them for drug addiction behind your back and never tell you. Birth control behind your back and never tell you. Emotional problems, which every one of these guys has it. They can treat without telling you. And in North Carolina, if you're 13 years old, you have to start in some practices, and any of them can do it. You have to start making your parents get written permission before they can see your records.
So here's where I have a problem. A kid can go to a doctor who is a mandatory recorder, and the doctor has more privacy with the child than a parent. So,
okay, that bill.
You'll have that problem.
Okay, that bill passed through, and it goes on to the Senate. Okay, so that's good. But we've got a guy named Tim Reeder, and we keep talking about him, and I'm going to talk about him more. He is very influential. He's a doctor. He's a second-term representative hailing from Pitt County, and he is a lobbyist.
Don't forget the lobbyist part.
North Carolina Medical Society, which is the AMA.
Past president of the North Carolina Medical Society.
He's with them now as well. He's with them. So that's the AMA, and he doesn't have a child, and he's wanting to sabotage this. And tell us a little bit more.
Well, I think the things that concern me are, I think he has a conflict of interest when he works with a group like the Medical Society that's quite liberal. I mean, one of their monikers is equality. What do you need equality? I don't want anyone to get down that road. But I think the other piece of it for me is when you don't have children as a doctor and you're trying to advocate over parents, that's a huge red flag to me. He also appears to have conflicts of interest with his the lobbying that he does. And I don't understand why, just because he is a doctor, he's considered the authority in the House. There are other doctors in the House.
Well, this is for, sorry about that. Yeah, there are other doctors in the House. There's Grant Campbell and a few others, but what Tim Reeder is known for, and I know this from caucus, so people tell us, people
Well,
talk.
we know he's also known for that transsexuals. I mean the
We
children's
know
stuff.
that. We
Yeah.
know that from last session. But what he's trying to do is to sabotage this bill, and I'm telling you, man, we got our
Well,
eyes.
does he have a chance to do that since it passed the House and or it may go to crossover?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
question
And
is-
he can flip. He can flip. We need one, right, to override the supermajority. We need one, so he can, have a lot of influence. Yeah, I mean, it's got to come back around and be voted on by everyone,
Right.
Possibly a veto.
An override. Yeah, an override. Yeah.
He's got plenty of. In fact, I can't be sure, but I mean, I think this guy works with Democrats a lot easier than Republicans. Look, he was picking up the phone, Tim Reeder, and yes, you were, buddy. You were picking up the phone to try to get the carry bill trashed, permitless carry. So it's not just this. I mean, he is a leftist trying to do the bidding of leftists. And when you go and you look at his campaign finance reports, you are going to see a very uncomfortable proportion of left-wing Democrats, not just rank and file, left-wing activist Democrats who donate to his campaign.
And that's very concerning. First of all, we know most doctors are left-leaning anyway, but to get up and try to take away parental rights, and to make statements regarding children when you have none, I don't care what your scientific motive is. You guys also told us COVID was cured with a mask and 6 feet apart and all that other bullshit.
And a jab, don't forget it.
Oh, I was going to get to the vaccine part, but to go ahead and say things like that parents don't have the same or more rights than a doctor is insane.
Yeah, it is insane. And to think that you know more, that's one thing that pisses me off. And everyone, to think that because you're a doctor, you know more than parents. When you have a bigger role than parents, it's like.
I've got a couple doctors in my family. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you're the smartest person in the room.
No, I'm married to one. So PhD.
I got some MDs and DOs in my household. And I mean, I'm not going to say they're not intelligent, but when it comes to children or specific issues, especially ones that have emotional ties to them, you got to leave that stuff at the door and start looking at it from the patient perspective and the parent perspective. And frankly, if you can tell that my child is suicidal and I don't get to know it, that's a problem.
Or pregnant, or needs drug treatment, or needs to go on,
But I'm supposed to pay for it too. And I'm not supposed to know about it.
Right. Yeah, that's where I'm confused. You want me to pay for it. It's absolutely preposterous. Most people find it very insulting, as do we. So the ivermectin bill made it through a very important hurdle today.
Congratulations, Jonathan Allman. Your bill made it through, and we're very excited for us.
We're very excited for us. Doctors don't mean.
I love Travis. He's so smart.
Travis, you're right. I had to think about that for a second, but you're right. It doesn't matter. I mean, look, they should be a consultant, right? They should be more of a consultative role.
Well, parents always know their children better than anybody. You're the one that advocates and fights when they have some kind of illness that a doctor says is a virus when it turns out to be, an ear infection or whatever. We all know that happens. It happens all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're with it. You're with it the most. Okay. So the Religious Restoration Act, we're going to have Brian. Yeah, here he is. Okay. So let me tell you, I think if the liquor stores can be open and the strip clubs can be open during COVID, why couldn't the churches be open? And you have a bill that's going to do just that.
He can't hear.
Let me see.
He says it looks like he's on mute.
I'm trying to take you off of mute. Okay, so Representative, you don't have he's going to go out and come back in. So let me tell you what this bill does. I mean, I really love it. It's a Religious Restoration Freedom Act. It says, that strict scrutiny for religious liberty cases that happen under COVID and can happen again. It cannot burden religious practice unless it's absolutely essential and narrowly tailored. It protects, religious gatherings, HOA stuff. It shields churches, during events, because we had a lot of pastors who were arrested. A lot of pastors who were arrested for doing what they do and having church on Sunday.
I wish they'd come up here and try to arrest the pastor. They might. First of all, our sheriff would never do that. But secondly, it's an astounding thing that they have to put a bill out that says that an HOA cannot say you can't have a church meeting. Think about that. How do they know the difference between a church meeting and a barbecue? And even if they do, how come they get to classify what you can have in your own home in a neighborhood?
Well, again, the liquor stores were open. Lowe's was open, right?
Grocery stores were open.
Right. And they were open. And then the most important thing in a person's life is, church. Not available to them. And I would argue at the time that people need it the very most.
Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. And so here's the bill. And I hope he's going to come back. I hope he's going to come back and tell us about it. Hang on one second. Because it's really important. Now, I'm looking at this bill, and maybe Brian can tell us. I do not think it's been up for a hearing at all in any of the communities or any of the committees. So we do have a long way to go for it, but yeah, it's coming on. And so what it does, again, I mean, a religion is sacrosanct, and I know Brian, he thinks it's the basis of everything. Representative, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. Can you hear me?
We can.
You don't even need a mic, really. You could just shout from Raleigh all over.
We'd hear you in Murphy from Raleigh.
Excellent. I didn't get a chance. I was actually having some technical difficulties, so I didn't hear literally anything you just said for the last few minutes.
We were talking about
your bill.
We were talking about your bill, and the thesis is if the strip club can be open and the liquor store can be open and Lowe's can be open.
Yes.
We're going to have some church. We're going to have some synagogue.
That's right. And, so infringement on religious liberty is no longer a fear in North Carolina. This is something that we've already lived through. And what's interesting is the RFRA, while it took 13 years to pass in Indiana, I'm hoping that we can get the RFRA, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, passed here a lot sooner. And the thinking behind that is, we have experience, so I'm hoping that we can get the people of North Carolina on board sooner than later.
And how far along is your bill? It's been introduced? Has it been in a hearing?
It has not been in a hearing. We are a little slim on progress right now, but with crossover coming, I'm hoping, they say no bill is ever dead. So I'm hoping that holds true for what we're doing with this.
Well, no bill is ever dead, because what they do, guys, is that they will get to a bill. Let's just say Bill 555 is crossed over from the House to the Senate. And what they will do on the Senate side is they will do something called a PCS. So it's a committee substitute. Mm-hmm. And they will basically either take that same bill number and scrape out the guts and put the contents of your bill in, and you can let it have another life.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing. I mean, we had a great day today. I have to tell you, I didn't know how we were going to land the plane, but tomorrow it looks like we're going to get through all the bills that have already made it through committee. Some bills have to still make it through rules. However, I mean, these guys, these gals, they hung in there and got it done today. We had about a 4-hour session, a little less than 4-hour session today.
It started late too.
Started about 30 minutes late.
Yeah, I was sitting there drumming my fingers waiting. So
yeah, but we did it. We got through there. It's a little torturous hearing some of the debate, because some of these things I'm like, are you really debating this? So for instance, today we had parental rights with medicine.
We went over that bill.
Oh my goodness.
Tell us about the debate.
Yeah, tell us about what could possibly be said about wanting parents to have control of their child's health care.
Well, I can tell you nothing can be said that makes sense to parents. And that's kind of the way the debate went. It's kind of like, are you really arguing that a 14-year-old can advocate for themselves with a doctor, well-meaning or not?
12-year-old,
right?
Yeah.
Even a 12-year-old, right? But you have to consider they don't have the faculty to resist the advice of a doctor.
Right.
It's not really what's best. And so some of the debate was, I get it. They have something to say and they say it, and that's kind of where I leave it. But shifting back to the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, because I literally walked in the door here. I mean, what do you want to know? We have to make this happen because in 2020, we have the very fact that we had the U.S. Constitution and the North Carolina Constitution in 2020. And what occurred was you had churches and temples and all of these different religious groups had to sue for the right to practice their religion. And so I don't want people to reduce that to they sued to have church. No, what this is they had to have a lawsuit for the right to practice their religion, a First Amendment right. Now, what we need is this RFRA, which was originally filed by Dan Bishop back in 2015. So then Representative Dan Bishop initially filed something like this in 2015. And it was opposed because it had some language in it that said persons. So what they didn't want to do, or what they at least presented, was that the word persons was so broad, we could accidentally infringe on someone else's freedom of speech. So with this bill, I had it modified a little bit, and I changed persons to government and HOAs, and added some non-discrimination in housing language. So hopefully we can get this through and have statutory protections in North Carolina instead of just the case law and the Constitution, which should be enough. Now, some people would argue, Margot, that the Constitution is much stronger. It is, but it's not statutory. So we need to get this done. And hopefully, and I think once I get the opportunity to make the case, I believe that most sensible people are going to agree with it. And we're going to see this pass in North Carolina.
Okay. I want to give you a piece of trivia to use when you speak on the floor about this next time, or if you get a chance to. Okay. I don't know if you know this, but North Carolina, the Constitution of North Carolina has the word God in it, second only to Massachusetts. So our Constitution is godly based and should be adhered to, and this complements our Constitution.
Yes, and which is amazing. So, speaking of God, we just had a bit of a snafu back in Cabarrus County, a very unfortunate event at a school board meeting. Someone made a motion to put the invocation back at the beginning of the meetings, which an invocation is such a humble.
Have them in Durham. For goodness sakes, the most liberal enclave in the state has them there.
And Pamela Escobar has a fit.
And she had a fit. I mean,
who is Pamela Escobar? Tell the audience. She's a school board member, she's
a school board member. She's a Democrat.
She's also the public information officer for Huntersville.
I just learned that yesterday, actually. So I don't know much about her as an individual. I only know her
I know so much about her.
Well, listen, I could tell you I was shocked because Cabarrus County.
What she said? So, because that was a shocking part. So she goes into this meeting and she says,
"Oh, well, she was just saying that we didn't need that much prayer. That we don't need that.
Haven't we had enough prayer?
Yeah, we had enough prayer. And you want to pray, go to church.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't about education. This is about the invocation at the beginning of a public meeting. So a lot of people are trying to shift what the real conversation is. This is literally the invocation at a public meeting.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, if the agenda goes out 10 days in advance, let's just follow the rules, right? 10 days in advance and they have an invocation on it and you're going to make a change or you want to add or delete it, that has to be a motion. If she wants to make the motion, that's in the minutes. That should definitely be made public.
Yeah, well, I hate that for her. I hate that for her. She's the public is dealing with her. It's an unfortunate thing. I thought it was very aggressive. It was very condescending to people of any faith, and it was unprofessional for her colleague. But I was thankful because it gave me a little more resolve. Because imagine someone with that sentiment about faith making decisions about the opening and closing of places of faith during times of crisis, which is why we need to get the RFRA passed.
Right. And I think what you're really saying is
That's right.
If we get RIF or pass, she doesn't get a say.
She doesn't get a say in that. This draws very thick lines
like
between
her.
the government and the church.
Someone like her, like Roy Cooper, probably agnostic completely. And Josh Stein, I will tell you, I know this. Agnostic to the religion. In other words, not in believing in God. I mean, he doesn't care, right? They don't care about it. It's not central to their life. And they don't understand, probably can't respect people that have it central in their life. Remember the bitter clingers from Obama that cling to their guns and their Bibles?
Yes.
That's the way they see us. Yeah.
I just want to add one more thing, Representative. One of the most beautiful things about North Carolina is our culture, and it is Bible-based. We have a Bible-based culture. I just made an example of our Constitution. And when you have people that move here, we expect you to assimilate to our culture because we have a specific culture. So Ms. Escobar is from Philadelphia, and she clearly thinks that we are Philadelphia, and we are not. So we would like to welcome her to a church. If she doesn't want to attend, she needs to shut her mouth because we're still going to go.
That's right. And I tell you what, so, being a representative aside, I was horrified as a resident, as a constituent. So people will say, and I got a little pushback for sharing the video, except the video should have never existed because that kind of animus should have never been expressed at a public meeting by a government official representing in a very religious place. Right. So it should have never been expressed. So, in true liberal activist fashion, what they do is they try to skip the fact that the event occurred and jump to it being shared. And I actually got an email and I didn't get any rude emails, which I'm so grateful. People reached out and I'm more than willing to answer when someone asks a mannered and thoughtful question. Okay. So I get this email and I just reminded them that she is the impetus of this. That never had to happen. She had a vote and she could have voted no, but that's not what she did. She insulted.
She knew. She came there to grandstand. She came there to grandstand. And by the way, what is a publicity stunt without publicity?
I don't know. They're accusing me of a publicity stunt. I put up 6-7 posts a week and they rarely get any attention. So it's not like I thought this was going to be a big thing.
So the God thing bothers us. I think we can all agree it's the God thing.
It is. It seems to me that's what it is. Now I have a different theory about leftists. Okay. All of the animosity they have, it's easy to reduce things to liberal conservative, right? Well, but I think when you take a look at the national debate for the last however many years, you have the leftist activists, and I like to separate it from Democrat because Democrat voters, some of them are just Democrat because they're Democrat. So the leftist activist is literally at war with everything that God sovereignly decides. Whether that's he has determined our time and boundary, so God chose borders, whether that's male, female, or whatever else it is, they are literally at war with it. So
Israel, we know
Israel,
that exists.
One little piece of land, right? And it means everything. And that proves the divine involvement. That alone, the fact that we all care about that little piece of land and it means everything proves there's something divine about it.
If that covenant doesn't exist, then God isn't who he said he was. And that's what it is about.
Well, and I'll tell you this. So with Israel, this is how I feel about God's covenant with Israel and with the Jewish people. If I can't trust him to keep the earthly covenant he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I can't trust Jesus for eternity with me. And so all of this is working together. And like you said, that witness is what they want to attack. They want God not to be God because then it brings all of us into question.
Correct.
And pardon?
Correct. If there is no God, I mean, I exist, therefore I am. If that is instilled in children in kindergarten. There's
Yes.
zero moorings, none. And it's like, if you're in psychology, if you believe in psychology and psychopathy, you know that there's identity disturbances, and they can be massive. So if you're bringing it down, your identity, you're not even a child of God. You may not be a boy.
But let's be honest. It's really, you can boil it down to the basics, and the basics are, this is a fight for good and God versus
Really
evil
is.
and bad.
I believe that wholeheartedly, and it's being played out politically, and that's really important. And that's why we do need the Religious Freedom Restoration Act.
We do.
And we need it because this battle is being played out, and it's religious freedom. It's not Christian freedom, right? So of course, people attack me. I am a Christian. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. And that's okay. And there's people who are not that. And you have never and will never hear me insult them, denigrate them. I just disagree with them. But that's not what happened at our school board meeting. I was, along with my neighbors, insulted. It's not that I felt offended. I'm not very easy to offend. I mean, I've been a political candidate, okay? You just can't offend me.
I've been trying for years.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I've been trying for years. You're right, to offend you. It can't be done.
Sloan's been trying to offend you forever.
I've been trying to get under your skin for years.
No, it's not. That's not going to happen. I mean, that's the basis of my faith, is that I'm in deep need of a savior. So I very rarely have much virtue to defend on my own. The word of the decade now is merit. I have very little of my own merit to proclaim. And so I don't go insulting other people, because before I was a Christian, I was not a Christian. Right. And so I respect everyone's spiritual journey. And when the young lady was on the school board meeting suggesting that if people didn't look a certain way, then they didn't share faith. When she said, how much God do we need? I mean, we say it. So for her, apparently it's just a say it thing. For me, it's a reality that I live in.
It's a live it.
It's a live it thing. And we need it as a community. And I think an invocation, even though it's only 30 to 60 seconds typically, is the opportunity to be humble and express the need for help.
And respectful for those, even if you don't agree with it, respectful for those who do want it.
It's a good way to set the table.
You don't have to agree with it to just give them the.
You do it at football games. You're setting the table. I'll tell you this. I've had this question come up a dozen times in the last week. And I know that we all three get this question. Politics is so dirty. Why do you go into it? And I want to tell you this. When you're talking about, doing your civic duty, and if it does strike you, you have to think about this. Someone is going to fill this role. Someone has to tell people what's going on in North Carolina with the bills. Someone has to fight back on things. Someone is going to stand there and do that. Someone has to represent their people. And so people with, you have to ask yourself, and I'm saying this to people out there, because Brian, I've known you for a long time, even, when you were running and doing other things, but you always felt that, look, someone is going to be doing this. And if it, it needs to be a moral person of character. So if you're ever thinking about running or doing what Margot and I do, yes, we do have our ass handed to us all day, every day. That happens. And I've actually stopped noticing as much, but you have to understand that this is a role, right?
Yes.
That we need so many people like you, people of faith, to step into. Otherwise, somebody else is going to fill it.
Well, it's interesting. And I know you guys have a whole show to go through, but Dale Falwell gave me great advice. And I really respect him.
Love him.
And he said to me, do not take the oath of office if you have a problem with God, with your nose, with your liver, with your zipper, or with your wallet.
Okay.
If you have a problem with any of those 5 things, do not take the oath of office.
Your nose. Why?
Cocaine, drugs.
Oh, he was literally going through the
drugs, alcohol, sex. What are the other ones? Your wallet,
zipper. With your God,
Oh yeah.
Your nose, your liver, that's alcohol,
Yeah.
your money,
Yeah.
and your zipper.
Yeah. Keep your zipper
Keep your
closed.
zipper.
Sounds like you're talking about somebody that's not up there anymore. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, but I can tell you, so what happened was, for one reason or another, I don't know the young lady's faith. I don't know what she believes or doesn't believe. But it was revealed where we're not alike. And it was revealed that she had some aggression against God that I don't have and that I don't think is right. And with that, we have to make sure that people in that mold don't end up making decisions for us,
Our children.
For our children,
That
for
is
our state.
right. That's right. And we have to make sure, good people like us who are not willing to sit back and let things happen, have more, breathing room to do that. And I hope that you're listening and get inspired by this. This is not convenient. Sitting in a meeting all day for you is not convenient. You sacrifice, you come to Raleigh, a 3-hour drive from you with your whole family, and stay here. I mean, I want everybody to know the sacrifices that you make and others like you. So it's such an important thing to say that the sacrifices don't matter when you do have faith, when you do know you're doing the right thing, when you know that you have to do it because heaven help us if someone else does.
It's a privilege to serve, but it's not a privileged work. It's tedious. I really respect all of my colleagues, Democrat and Republican. I respect them all. They show up and they have to be there, right? And it's tough. The pay is nothing. Okay. The pay is zero and it's $13,000 a year. And hey, thank you. It's better than nothing. I would do it for nothing.
Public is literally, for the right people, public service. And we're very grateful to you and your leadership. We know that you've excited. I mean, you got a lot of people on here that actually have a man crush on you. Jim Womack, Eric Stevenson, and a few more.
Listen, the bromance.
I don't know what a man crush is. I've never had one.
Romance.
Those are some manly men you just named.
They're extremely manly men.
Yeah.
But they've got they're inspired by you, and we need more people like that. And you and Jonathan Ahman and
Neil Jackson.
Yes, so many others who are doing this.
Carl Gillespie.
Let me just brag on those guys. You have Representative Neil Jackson, Jonathan Allman, Representative Gillespie. You have Destin Hall, Speaker Hall. Yeah. You have some really strong men. Dean Arp is an absolute lion, and it's so watching those people, particular and Jonathan did amazing today on the floor. Oh, he did amazing on the floor with the extending the time for civil action after a failed procedure. Right. And he did amazing in committee with the ivermectin. Watching him has been great because these things are his conviction, and you can see it when he presents. Yeah.
You two are such a marvelous pair to be from Cabarrus County. I say that because you complement each other. You have very like thought patterns when it comes to believers spiritually. And honestly, you have been the most approachable, reasonable, passionate representatives I've seen. I'm so glad you are both here together.
Margot, we may have to come after them in the future. So let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Hey, you know what? I tell people all the time, if you see me off-roading, stop me, because I might be a genius or I might need to just get back on the road. Right? So whatever it is, come get me. I'll take it. I might be a genius. I might not be, but let's make sure we're going in the right direction.
Yeah. I just love the freshman class. You, Jonathan, the Gable, the Gable guy from whenever. I think the freshman class is fire.
They're amazing guys, and it's great to be with them. It could be a lot more tedious and a lot more unpleasurable without those guys. So I'm really grateful.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on you. Yeah, I mean, we're keeping an eye on your agendas. I mean, you have the family agenda, obviously. We've got the Maha agenda, Jonathan Allman really putting that on the map. And we love the fact that you're working with your constituents. and you're being very transparent. That is something that is refreshing. And you brought up Speaker Destin Hall and then Majority Leader Jones have been extremely transparent. We really like that. And we also like the comms team. The comms team is straight
fire.
For all of you guys. Really, yeah. When you guys are 1/10 as good as us, that says something.
Hey, come on, man. That's what I mean. That's it. We're getting there.
You know, I have one question for you that I want to leave with.
Okay.
Are we going to see you at the NCGOP convention in June?
It is on my calendar. I fully intend to be there.
All right. We look forward to seeing you.
Can't wait.
There's always fireworks there.
Listen, I have a little mantra that I've been kind of repeating because the Federation of Republican Women came to the General Assembly today. They were amazing. There had to be 90 of them. I don't know how many came, but there had to be
razors everywhere.
Oh, it was great. And I said to women do most of the work in our party. Okay. And I say that like they have the vision, that mama bear, I'm going to protect the kids, comes out of them, and they get things done. That's in Cabarrus County. We have amazing women in Cabarrus County. What I shared with them was in 24, we rocked the boat. Okay. We got President Donald J. Trump in there, America First type of congressman, few senators, obviously our state house. But in 26, we have the opportunity to right the ship because it takes time to get these things through. So we rocked the boat. Now we have to right the ship, and we need our constituents. We need Republicans, conservatives, Republican or unaffiliated. We need them to understand that in 26, we have the opportunity to turn the corner in this country, in this state, and really getting people inspired with that. I mean, how could you not love India coming back with 0 for 0 tariffs? How could you not love that? Right. How do you not love seeing criminals who have hurt Americans deported? How do you not love that? And
I watch it on loop before I go to bed. It's awesome.
Listen, it's great. And the mainstream, the legacy media is trying to paint it like something negative is happening. But Americans are seeing it happen. They said the stock market was going to crash. It didn't. We have 0 for 0 tariffs. We're going to begin to see manufacturing in North Carolina. We have great machine shops and manufacturers in Cabarrus County that are going to get their fair opportunity at a free market now. And it's going to be good, but it's going to take time. We have to get 26 right the ship, make sure they don't start impeachment proceedings, or definitely if we had a supermajority with these good conservative folks that we have in the state house now, oh man, no telling how much more thorough some of the legislation would be.
Well, I think writing that with Dave Bullock as the head of the election board is the big start to get that right.
Yes. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, we would love to have you anytime. We can't wait to see you at the NCGOP convention. We will definitely get you on film there too. And don't be surprised if I come down and see you at the house one day.
Come on. Listen, in my office.
Tell me when you're coming.
Well, I don't have the largest office, but let me tell you about my office. It's not big, but it's well done, right? My wife did a great job. She's my assistant. We have a bread maker. We make bread on Wednesdays. We have a Cuban coffee maker. I have the 43-inch TV pumping I like to watch Fox Business. Because a little less commentary kind of keeps me into the international stuff a little more. But it's a great office, comfortable chairs. Come by, hang out, whatever you want, Margaret.
Great candies.
You know how far of a drive it is for me?
It's far.
Which
means if you come out, you got to stop.
Let me tell you something, Representative, before you go. I have to say this. It is closer for me to go to Tallahassee than it is to go to Raleigh. I have 5 state capitals closer than Raleigh to me.
Oh, yeah. You got a good ride. You have a good ride, but it's totally worth it.
I know. I'll get to see you and Sloan.
Come on.
Yeah. I know. Again, When in a town, she has a summer party every year, so I don't know why you're complaining. But anyway,
I'm not complaining. Guys, you know how big North Carolina is.
And it will be a special journey, but we're gonna have to keep her on track to make good with that. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Thursday night, we're going to talk about tariffs and how they're affecting furniture industry, textiles, things like that, with a special guest on. So we hope to see you guys then. Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is.